Hey, what is up, guys? It is Cameron Talks Football. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the teams that are still looking for their head coaches, some teams that have gotten their head coaches, and some players coming off IR, and a look into the AFC and NFC championship games and what I think is going to happen in those games. First, we have the Commanders. They're still looking for their head coach. They did let go of Ron Rivera earlier this season. Like after the season was over, they did let go of their head coach Ron Rivera, and there are some possible head coaches that they could be looking for. They have a decently good amount of players on their offense with Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and Logan Thomas. They can build a decently good offensive line in the draft or in free agency because they do have a decent amount of cap space that they can work with. But they do still need their head coach that they can trust. There are some options that they can look for in Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, or Bobby Slowick. Bobby Slowick was a former or is still the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. Pete Carroll was the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, and Bill Belichick used to be the head coach of the New England Patriots. Who should they go after of these three options? I would say they should go after Bobby Slowick. Bobby Slowick, as you can see what they did with CJ Stroud, and that offense surrounded him with some great players. It's just what they were able to do is just amazing. And even though they did lose in the AFC divisional round, they went from being the second overall pick to being in the second round of the playoffs. And if the Commanders want somewhat to copy that success, they need to hire an offensive coordinator like Bobby Slowick. Even though one of these three options would be great in Bill Belichick because he's a defensive minded coach and they definitely do need that, and he's a good head coach, or Pete Carroll, he's still a good head coach, but getting older, I think they should go after Bobby Slowick, the younger offensive minded player here, and the younger option. That is the best thing for them to do because he is knowing what to do with young players because he elevated CJ Stroud's game to the highest it could possibly be in one season. Now we're looking at the Seattle Seahawks. They could be looking at probably two options here. I don't think they're going to be looking for Bill Belichick. That would be something weird. I don't think they would. You never know. But Bobby Slowick or Mike Vrabel. I think they should go after Mike Vrabel because Mike Vrabel will be that player, that coach that is going to bring the best out of all those players. I think they should go for a new quarterback in this draft because Geno Smith is just not it. He's getting older. He had that one good season in his first season back with the Seahawks or whatever. He just did not do that well. I don't think he's gonna do that good this upcoming season. If they want to keep DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith and Jigba happy, they got to go after a new head coach and get after a new quarterback that can actually throw the ball when needed. But, I think they should go after Mike Vrabel. That would be the best option for them. Personally, you know, Patriots already hired Mike Vrabel, was it Gerard Mayo, and he said what he's gonna do is burn a lot of cash. He's gonna find the best players available, and that is what you want to hear out of the head coach. You want to hear that they're gonna surround talent around a player. That either means surround talent around Mac Jones and write it out one last year because he's still on a cheap contract, or get after what is it, a quarterback in that third pick. If Marvin Harrison is still there, I believe the Patriots will draft Marvin Harrison. But if the team jumps ahead of him and takes Marvin Harrison, I bet uh, they will be gladly okay with taking Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Either way, the Patriots will be fine with it because of that free agency cash they have, and they could get wide receivers in free agency too. But now looking at a team that just hired their head coach recently is the Panthers and Dave Canales. They just hired him from the Buccaneers. He did just work with Baker Mayfield, but he helped Baker Mayfield into the season he just had. Baker Mayfield went insanely well this year. People were writing him off with the training camp videos that they saw where he wasn't able to really complete a pass. And then you just saw him slowly progress into this season. Everyone thought that they weren't going to have a quarterback to throw to Mike Evans, but he ended up having another 1,000-yard season. I believe that is his eighth or ninth season in a row with 1,000 yards receiving. which is absolutely crazy to hear about, is that he had another season 1,000 yards receiving. What is this going to look like for the Buccaneers? I think they're still going to have a good offense if they can somehow keep what is it? If they can somehow keep Mike Evans, that would be a great offense, but I think Mike Evans is going to walk, get some more money in free agency, and ride it out with one more team because I think his time with the Buccaneers is over. However, the Buccaneers defense is still pretty good. They can grab some players in free agency or the draft, but I think this what is it? This Panthers team is going to be good, but I think the Buccaneers team will still somehow figure out a way. But the Panthers, we're going to look at the Panthers after talking about the Buccaneers that we just were talking about. The Panthers, they just hired a good head coach. They just, like I said, elevated Baker Mayfield's game. He's going to do the same, hopefully, with Bryce Young. But you never really know what they're going to do with a head coach or with a quarterback. Hopefully, they give Bryce Young some younger receivers and an O line to actually block for him, because the Panthers defense was actually doing pretty decently well in the late part of the season. They started to figure it out. So hopefully the Panthers, can elevate Bryce Young's game, and people will stop saying like all these jokes about him being like really bad. The small jokes are gonna follow him throughout his whole career. It's just him playing bad is gonna be something that is gonna continually follow him. Next is the Falcons. They also hired a head coach in Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris was the former defensive coordinator of the LA Rams. He worked with a bunch of great defensive players such as Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and others. But I think this is going to be a good defensive hire for a head coach because he is a good defensive minded coach. The Falcons have a good defense already. And now the Falcons, I think they just need a quarterback and then they're competitive. They have great offensive talent. They have Kyle Pitts, they have Brian Robinson, they have Drake May. And then you look at their defense, they have AJ Terrell, they have Jesse Bates, they have all these young players on their defense and offense. And now I think they're just missing a quarterback because it's just not it what they were having this season. They just did not have it. They were just not that team that was really competitive, that was scary to worry about. But there is a deep quarterback draft that they can get, and these are three people that they can possibly get with their seventh or eighth pick. I forgot what it is. Can't remember right now. But they have Bo Nix that they could possibly get. They have Jaden Daniels they could possibly get, or Michael Penix Jr. Out of those three, I think Michael Penix will absolutely elevate this offense. This will somewhat look like a Ravens offense with Raheem Morris at the head coach position because Jaden Daniels is somewhat like a Lamar Jackson, but I think Michael Penix is more of a passer than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson have an MVP season. I think he is the MVP personally, but I think he is a better passer, and I think he's going to elevate his passing game with this offense. So now that all these head coaching hires are just talked about, what is a team that what is it? Lamar Jackson plays on? He plays for the Ravens. What is a player that hasn't played for a while? Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is coming back. He's set to play off of IR to play in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. It seems like all of the football world, except for the Chiefs fans, are going for the Ravens because they don't want to see Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl. If the Taylor Swift wasn't dating Travis Kelce, I would not care about that. It's just that the NFL just keeps pushing it down people's throats. That is just not something I want to constantly see. But I just don't want to keep talking about that because that is not something I need to talk about because it doesn't impact really football. It kind of does impact football actually if you think about it, because off of the head referee that they are going to be assigning to this game, Sean Smith. If you don't know who Sean Smith is, I'm going to do a little bit of backstory about him. He is a referee that favors the away team, which means he's going to give, like, if the Ravens were on defense and the Chiefs were on offense and they sack Mahomes, there is a high possibility that they're going to give him roughing the passer or possibly even holding on defense. Or it could be the other way around, that they are just not going to call that many penalties on the Ravens or against the Ravens. But you never know. Hopefully he calls a fair game. But it just seems like a weird head referee that they can be having for this game. But That's something that's just not right to have. I think they should have had a better referee to do this. But the final thing I want to talk about as a Patriots fan, I think this is personally funny, is Kayshon Boutte got arrested for gambling. He started gambling when he first came to LSU or whatever at like 18, 19 years old. He didn't even change an alias name. He just his usernames was like Kayshon Boutte and then Kayshon Boutte 1 or whatever. Like, why would you have it as your name if you're not going to be able to do it legally or whatever? I don't know. He actually made a decent amount of money, which is what I heard. Maybe he was betting on his unders or whatever in some of these things that he was playing in, but he mainly betted on college football and a lot of LSU games. He had a total of like I think it was like over these years that he was doing it, he was having to average 24 bets a day, which is 1 hour. I don't know how he possibly did it, but he also made like a lot of winnings doing that. But we people do really wanted to see what he was betting on because how he was able to do it. Or if he was betting on himself, because if players bet on themselves, then that's just like cheating the game a little, making it a little unfair. But he's facing jail time, and that is just something that if you gotta face your consequences when you do a dumb decision like that. Hopefully, hopefully the right thing comes out. Hopefully, he gets the right thing happen to him. But that is pretty much all I needed to talk about today was all these things that just happened that I just talked about, like the head coaching hires, Mark Andrews coming off IR, and Sean Smith being the coach or the referee for the AFC Championship game. I will be back on Monday to talk about the AFC and NFC Championship winners and what I think is going to look like for the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is 2 weeks after on 2 weeks after Sunday's game. So that is going to be a lot of time filled where I could talk about other things like the draft, do a couple mock drafts. So until then, I will see you guys later. Peace out.